So this one's going to get a standard interior detail, and then we're going to do a wash and wax on the outside. Oh, got a little doggy car here. Beautiful Audi here. It really is. It's a super nice car. But his wife never drives this. No big deal. That's okay. So what little she does drive it, there's been little care there. It's not horribly bad. So this one's going to get a standard interior detail, and then we're going to do a wash and wax on the outside. Okay, she had all this stuff in the back here. That's fine. We still get into it. The reason why is because, well, there's a mud spot right there. How are we going to do detailing and cleaning if there's mud spots? That doesn't make any sense. We're going to get under the spare. Believe it or not, there's a bunch of stuff under there. But just, you know, sit back and enjoy. Well, the very first thing we do is we start with our blowout. Our blowout's essential because it gets in cracks and crevices that you can't get into with a vacuum. Our blowout's a super big thing because dust and dirt gets trapped into carpets and corners of windows and seats and places that it's troublesome to get a vacuum in, like right there behind the seat, or even in that little corner. You can't always stick a vacuum down in that plastic, it scratches it. Same thing down in there. So it's a lot easier to blow out and take our time blowing things out. It gets all that dust and debris. If there's dust and debris on that dash and we go to clean it, you know, we're just kind of taking that crud and shoving in there. That's why it's so important for us to do a blowout. Not only are we getting cracks and crevices in the seat, but it helps eliminate from damage as well. Super important to get in the cracks and crevices, but it also gets dirt and debris out of the carpets as well. It's really important that we do this process. It just makes for a better detail. And, well, he can kind of watch us go around and zap through this thing, doing a blowout and starting our vacuum.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now that we're done with the blowout and the vacuuming, time to move on to the plastics. The plastics don't look that bad, but look at the dog slobber on them. Many people's perception is that we rub a bunch of Armor All on the plastics, and that's not the case. That's not what we do. What we do is we actually clean. So this is an appropriate cleaner with an appropriate, that's not a makeup brush, that's an appropriate detail brush. And as you can see, we can get in cracks and crevices with this brush. Dust, debris, road grime from the window, from the driver's windows being open, will come in and set down on these plastics. And when that dirt and grime set on that plastic, it actually sets in that plastic. And if you take Armor All and start to rub on the plastic, it looks clean, but you're actually just kind of embedding that crud even more. So not only will the plastics get embedded with dirt and grime, but everything else in the car. If you're riding around with the window open, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get stuff stuck in the plastics. You're going to get stuff stuck into leathers. Now right here, we're going to blow out cracks and crevices. So if there is any dirt and debris that's stuck in those little corners and crevices, we're blowing it out with our cleaner. Now, the other nice thing about the cleaner that we use is not only does it clean, and you can see us blowing out the screen and the speaker, that's really nice. But the other thing that it does do is it actually leaves a UV protectant. It's a flat UV protectant. So it actually does leave a protection on all the plastics and on all the leathers. Now we go over the leathers once they're clean with the appropriate leather cleaner, and it complements this cleaner as well. So we get all the plastics and we make sure we scrub all the plastics. Reason for that is because if it's not clean, it's not clean. Why would you only do half of the plastics or part of the doors or part? Let's get it all from top to bottom. That way it's all clean and looking fresh. And with our standard interior details, we just go from the headliner down. We give a quick wipe on the headliner, but it's literally from the headliner down. That's really where the majority of the dirt and debris, because it kind of settles to the bottom. So we have a lot of customers that will call us and say, well, the interior is not that bad, but once we get done scrubbing all the plastics and getting all the corners and crevices, they don't really realize, because they've been driving it the whole time, how bad it really is. I mean, look how good that plastic's turning out. Now, we've already gotten the back seats, but we're starting on this one. This is one we shot video on. Now, if you look, we very immediately start to get our brush, our detail brush, and getting cracks and crevices in that seat. And what happens with leather is that you'll get a conditioner on there. It's kind of oily. The window's down, it'll get dirt, debris, sediment from the road. It also gets oils from your hands as you're touching and adjusting yourself, sweat from your back. All these things will embed in the leather, and they look clean, and people think they're clean until we get a hold of it, and then it ends up being a big difference. But the whole point of this shot is to show how thorough that we are when we clean leather seats. Now, one of the last areas that we do before we do the windows is the dash. And the dash is a big part because that's what everybody sits. They sit at the driver's seat, they look at that dash, it gets dirt, debris on it, it bugs people. They want their dash clean as possible. But when you look down what I'm doing here, you can see that I'm getting the cracks and crevices of the dash as well. I'm also getting around the steering wheel. Now, the steering wheel is kind of like seats, but worse because it's a leather. You're grabbing it constantly. You're holding on to it. The oils and dead skin from your hands will actually embed in that steering wheel. And if you're a woman that wears makeup or someone who wears makeup, that makeup will embed in that steering wheel, and the makeup and dead skin and oil, it is tough to get off that leather without damaging it. So it's very crucially important that you use a proper cleaner that will clean that dirt, debris, dead skin, oils, makeup off of that steering wheel without causing any damage. Now, as Tyler's doing the windows, I'm going to do a place that's usually forgotten, and it is the pedals. A lot of people forget to do the pedals while they're doing a detail. You have dirt and debris in that, you get everything nice, you get the floor mats nice, you shove it up there, and then mud from those pedals or crud falls down. That ain't right, man. Come on, you get in the little cracks and crevices of the pedals too, make them look nice. I guess it could be considered a safety issue in case anything's slippery on the pedals. You want to make sure you get all that stuff off. So after this, we are done with the interior. Time to move on to the outside. Time for our wash and wax. Okay, the very first place that we start on a wash and wax is the rims. As you can see, we're giving it a quick rinse to get all the major dust that's on the surface off. Now, it doesn't look that bad because it's a pretty well-maintained vehicle, but when you get done, you're going to see a difference. The reason we start at the wheels and tires first is because there's nothing like washing the vehicle, getting fresh, clean paint, and then doing the wheels and getting brake dust or road grime splatter on that fresh, clean paint. It's just, it's a bad way to go about it. So we always start with the wheels and tires first. That way we don't have to come back and redo work. As you can see, we're using one chemical for the tires that has an emulsifier in it. This is actually a proper rubber cleaner that will pull dirt out of that rubber. On the inside, now this is the proper wheel cleaner. Now the proper wheel cleaner will break up the dust and brake debris that might be stuck onto the actual rim itself. And now that brake dust and debris can get embedded if it's not well maintained. Then you have to go through and do an iron decon on it. Generally, you want to do an iron decon on your vehicle about once a year anyway. Why? Because any type of metal particles that come from the brakes can get embedded in your paint and or your rims. What happens with that little metal particle? It starts to oxidize, and when it oxidizes, it turns to rust, and once it turns to rust, then it really gets embedded, and that's where damage starts. I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through the rest of this process, and as you can see, when we get done rinsing it off, there is a difference. It looks clean. It looks cleaner than what we see. So as I said before, you want to do an iron removing wash about once a year. So as Tyler's finishing up with the wheels, I'm going around to this vehicle and spraying iron remover everywhere. And when it reacts with iron particles, you can definitely see it in the paint. Take a look here on the side of the door. What this is doing is this ferrous iron remover is pulling out metal particles from fallout from the road, from the big truck next to you, from your brakes. Anything that might be considered road grime, that is what that is pulling out, and then we come along and rinse it. So as I said before, and this is really crucial on your paint and why it's so crucial to do an iron decon on your paint once a year. Metal particles stick into your paint, they start to oxidize. Once they start to oxidize, that is where rust will start to set in. And once that starts to set in, it is like a cancer. That's where you start to get paint that starts to bubble out and just deteriorate. So now we have all the iron chemical remover mix rinsed off the vehicle. It's time to give it a wash. We foam soap it down and we wash it with Chanel mitts. And on this one, because it's a new vehicle, we are going to use fresh microfibers in the four square method. So an iron remover removes a lot of particles that are embedded in the paint, but it doesn't get off all the grime. And that's where you have to do a contact wash. Now the four square method is you take a microfiber, you fold it up into fours. You don't always have to go back to your bucket to rinse it. And all you do is every panel, you flip that microfiber, thus every panel gets a fresh microfiber. So this method is a little quicker in some aspects, but the bigger part of it is you are going to be less likely, if not at all, to induce any type of scratches. If you have enough soap on there, you have enough lubrication, and it picks up all the dirt and particles that may be there. That's why we do it this way. It is a better way to wash a vehicle. Now, it should be pretty obvious after we get them washing it and doing a contact wash on it, we just go around and rinse it to get all the surfactants off of it and out of the cracks and crevices. Man, I wish I was young enough to actually move this fast. Time to move on to our clay treatment. That's the last process of the decon. So this is the last process of our decon wash, and basically what we're gonna do is we're done washing it. It is clean visually, it is clean. But what we can't see is what the clay treatment does. And it's pretty easy. We foam it down to give it some lubrication. We have synthetic clay mitts, and we just go around the paint, and we want to make sure that we're getting all the particles that the iron remover didn't get off and the hand contact wash didn't get off. This is going to finish it out. This is going to smooth the paint out. It also helps get in any debris that might be stuck, like a metal particle that's big enough that's where it's stuck, where it just didn't break loose with the ferrous iron remover. That's what this part is for. And then after we get done with our clay treatment, the rest of it's pretty easy. We just go around and dry it, and then we hand apply a ceramic hybrid wax. Now, this guy lucked out, because when I went to the van to go get our ceramic hybrid wax, we didn't have our 6-month ceramic hybrid wax. We only had our year-long coating in a spray form. So that's what this guy got, and that's what's going to finish this car out. So the rest of this, I'm going to play some music and just let you watch us jam away. Now, I will say this as a last note. We just went through all that work to get all that stuff off. We want to make sure that we protect it so things won't embed into the paint, and that's why we do coatings, waxes, or sealants. Take a look how this thing turned out. Man, the floor mats turned out awesome. The seats turned out awesome. Just all around, this car is looking sweet. The center console is immaculate. Doors are clean. Windows are to perfection. And he lucked out. We tossed him in because this is a good customer of ours. He calls us, not all the time, but he calls us, and he's always very giving. So we like to repay him back. We are experimenting with a new window coating that we're probably going to include with our wash and wax. We applied that to her window. We have a year-long coating on here. Interior's looking awesome. Exterior's looking awesome. Thanks for